Welcome to the forum for candidates in the November 5th general election for Ramsey City Council member, Ward 2. The forum is being recorded by QCTV for multiple showings. Thank you, QCTV. Editing is only authorized for official media reporting excerpts. Edited clips of candidate forums may not be used for partisan political purposes. Meet the Candidate forums are held without a live audience, and voters' questions were submitted online for the candidates. My name's Varian. I'm the forum moderator and a member of the League of Women Voters, ABC. I do not live in Ramsey. I live in Blaine, so I can't vote for any of these candidates. The League of Women Voters does not support or oppose any political parties or candidates for office. I'm sure each candidate cares very much who you vote for, but the League does not. The League does hope that each of you will vote. The goal of our forums is to help citizens become informed voters. The candidates for Ramsey City Council Ward 2 are Eric Peters and Jeff Lubarski. Welcome to the Ramsey City Council Ward 2 candidates. In lieu of opening statements, we will begin with 2 questions which were provided to the candidates in advance. This will be followed by questions from the public which were submitted in advance. And then we'll end with a closing statement from the candidates. For the first 2 questions, the answers are limited to 90 seconds. And we'll start with Eric Peters. What is your motivation to run for this office, and what experience or knowledge would you help you to serve effectively? Eric Peters.
First, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum and QCTV for hosting it in their building. This is great. I'm running for City Council for Ward 2 because everyone deserves a safe, well-managed, and supportive city. Although my Navy career delayed my dream of serving in local government, I'm now ready to contribute to our community. I've been married for 21 years and have 2 children. One's currently attending Florida State University, and the other one at PACT. I served in the Navy for 21 years on active duty, retiring as a Senior Chief Petty Officer. My experience includes various locations such as Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, the Pentagon, and 5 Navy ships, where I managed the budgets for the ship's maintenance and supplies. I currently work as a buyer in the supply chain industry. Locally, I've served on the Ramsey Planning Commission for over 5 years. This experience has deepened my understanding of local government and strengthened my commitment to serving the citizens of Ramsey. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff Lubarski, I'll repeat the question too here. What is your motivation to run for this office, and what experience or knowledge would help you to serve effectively?
Again, I'd like to thank you guys all for having me here today, the Women Voters and QCTV. I bring in 25 years as a resident in the city of Ramsey. I've seen a lot of changes. I've seen a lot happening in the city of Ramsey. Again, I served 25 years in the Army too, and now it's my time to be in a political view and help out the city of Ramsey and the residents. I feel that I have a lot of experience with the construction trades that I did, with teamwork and working together with foremans and contractors and stuff like that. Same with the city, work with the other city councils so we can build a better city and a safer city.
Thank you. What are your goals for the future of Ramsey? And I'll start with you, candidate Lubarski.
All right. The first 3 goals that I would like, the first thing that I would do is maintain rural-urban balance because we only have so much land. The second thing, I would like to work on transparency in the city council activity, notify Ramsey citizens, not just the minimal required. The third thing I'd like to work on is maintain the safety of our community by supporting our police and fire.
Thank you. What are your goals for the future of the city of Ramsey, candidate Peters?
Thank you. My first thing would be to enhance road infrastructure. The goal is to improve road quality and durability adhering to schedules, and minimizing disruptions. There is a great schedule that the city has put out. They need to adhere to that schedule, and there also needs to be some sort of quality testing that does happen. I think they already are doing bore testing on them right now, so that's great. Also, strengthen our public services, aim to bolster police and fire departments by providing essential resources, training, and support. This ensures we can effectively handle emergencies and maintain public safety, enhancing the overall community security. Another one is promote responsible building practices. With the rising housing developments such as Pearson Farms, we should ensure the growth is sustainable and balanced within our community. This involves monitoring housing affordability, preventing oversupply, and enforcing responsible building practices to benefit the community. Another one is foster responsible business growth, supporting business development that benefits the residents of Ramsey. For example, the Aldi opening up demonstrates how we can provide competition in our markets and offering lower prices. Our focus is on ensuring the business growth that strengthens our local economy and meets the community's needs. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now ask the candidates to respond to questions submitted by the public. Responses are limited to 1 minute. The first question is, many citizens prefer to engage with government using email or social media rather than in person. What means will you use to engage with City of Ramsey residents? And we will start with you, candidate Peters.
Well, thank you. So a lot of our residents these days, they do look at social media, they do look at the internet, they interact with our website, but there's also things like the Ramsey resident that gets sent to each house. If there's anything going on in the community that pertains to that neighborhood, if they're within 300 feet, they get a letter so they can participate in the functions of that government. I like to say, like, I'm approachable. I'm a big guy, but I'm relatively approachable. My number is on all my literature. You can call me anytime. I enjoy answering my phone. I answer for telemarketers. I just love having the conversation. So I think that having us be available to be able to have those questions asked of us, and if we don't have the answer, sometimes, I mean, there's going to be times I'm not going to have the answer. Be able to point them in the right direction, have that education, that support within our city government. Thank you.
And to you, candidate Lubarski, many citizens prefer to engage with government using email or social media rather than in person. What means will you use to engage with Ramsey residents?
Thank you. The same thing. I would love social media more to be involved. And email, my email is always open. My email's been out there. It's always open. I prefer a phone call too, email, whatever, and then we can start with the email, then we can always go up to a phone call or whatever and meet in person. The people, their voice is what I want to hear. I support their voice. Everything that they have out there, I support. That's what.
Next question is, how will you ensure that residents and businesses know about major projects and decisions and have the opportunity to provide input? Candidate Lubarski, you're first.
I would like to see post public hearing on the website or Facebook, not just on the web pages of a legal newspaper. All citizens should have an easy access to hearing info.
Thank you. Candidate Peters, would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Okay. How will you ensure the residents and businesses know about major projects and decisions and have an opportunity to provide input?
Great question. And again, I'll lean back on if something's happening in your area, you're going to get a letter if you're within 300 feet. But it's incumbent upon us as the leaders in our communities in these wards to maybe knock on some doors and make some calls and talk to the folks and make sure they understand what's going on. And sometimes what happens on social media is that we sometimes get a differing point of view than what's actually happening. And we need to make sure that we're sending a clear message to our residents to ensure that they know what's actually happening and they could be part of the situation. They could be part of the forums and the things happening at City Hall and at planning commissions and at EDAs and at city councils. So they can be part of it, be part of the record. Thank you.
Ramsey needs to attract businesses in order to keep property taxes reasonable for residents. How will you attract businesses without offering them tax incentives? Candidate Peters.
I think a lot of times we need to make sure that we have the available housing to support a lot of these manufacturing and businesses that would come here. There's a lot of empty buildings on Highway 10 that were just built. If those businesses do not see available housing or for labor force housing, they're not going to come here because people have to drive a half hour, 45 minutes, or an hour to get here. We have to make sure that housing is attainable for a community of people that can work in those buildings, and that we have the infrastructure to support those people, and making sure that we have, enough. We have enough grocery stores now. That's great, but we also need to make sure that we have the educational facilities and everything like that to support them and their families. Thank you.
Thank you. Ramsey needs to attract businesses in order to keep property taxes reasonable for residents. How will you attract businesses without offering them tax incentives? Candidate Lubarski.
The same thing. This is new to me. This is something that I'd have to look into more. I'm not experienced in that, but however, I am one that's against the taxes being raised up in the city, and I don't feel the burden should be put on the taxpayers, so business shouldn't be too exempt to come here.
Thank you. What is your position on a potential bridge crossing from Ramsey to Dayton, and why? Candidate Lubarski.
Could you repeat that?
What is your position on a potential bridge crossing from Ramsey to Dayton, and why?
My position would be we need to do some study on it. We're going to make sure that the ecosystem could sustain that. We can make sure that the river is adequate for it. It'd take time. We have to study what the impacts would be to the environment before we could build it.
Thank you. Candidate Peters, what is your position on a potential bridge crossing from Ramsey to Dayton, and why?
A great question. I would echo a lot of what Jeff has said. The ecological impact of what's going on. But as someone who's worked across the river and had to spend many hours driving back and forth with only 2 points of contact, and if I really stretch it out, another third one going way across town, I would enjoy, and I think anybody else that lives on that side, works on that side of the river, would enjoy a bridge going across. This is not an easy thing. This is going to take time. This is going to take a lot of cooperation between many communities, many sectors of government, just everything. We need to make sure if it comes here, it is sustainable. And in 10 years down the road, we're not adding 2 more lanes to it or a double decker. We have to make sure this is sustainable for everybody. And it'll only make Ramsey stronger. That's what I think. Thank you.
Candidate Peters, what is working well in Ramsey, and what will you do to protect the city's strengths?
City strengths, you said?
Strengths, yeah.
Thank you. Great question. So I think that the city staff and the city councils and the boards do a great job at trying to get information out. I think that the website is improved to make sure that people need to put a permit in for a shed or a fence, some of the two of the biggest things we do in the city, that they actually follow the path that's supposed to be done. They run their permits, they do it the right way, so there's no conflicts between neighbors. We don't want to see that. I think that the city's doing a great job with their newsletter, getting stuff out. I think we should, if it's working and it's effective, continue to fund it and making sure that that we're not running out of money for it, that we actually continue with it. I think it's great. Thanks.
Candidate Lubarski, what is working well in Ramsey, and what will you do to protect the city's strengths?
What's working well is our community is safe. We have a safe community. My children go out and play at the park and stuff like that. That's working very well. That's pretty much it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Candidate Lubarski, what do you think is the best plan for the old Ramsey Town Hall?
The best plan? That must be something I'd have to look into. I know where the old town hall is. I've been here for a long time. I remember going over there and voting over there. It's been a long time. That'd be a hard one. I like it to be turned into something. I don't want it torn down and destroyed.
Okay. And then Candidate Peters, what do you think is the best plan for the old Ramsey Town Hall?
That's great. It's a really neat building. If anybody should try to visit, they should. I think it should be more accessible to our students in our schools and accessible to our residents, so they can learn about the history of Ramsey and what a lot of us like Jeff, who's lived here for so many years, know about. It's a great thing for us to find out a better place for it, maybe if it could be moved, or if it just has better access, or maybe there is some sort of visitor center that could go along with it. That'd be something that I would be in favor of. I think that it would almost seem like a passion project in a way, but it's something that it's heritage. Something that we should all be looking towards. Thank you.
Candidate Peters, can you give an example of a time that you successfully worked with someone with different views from yours to accomplish a goal?
I'm sure Jeff can probably speak of some military stuff too, but I could talk about my time in the military where, we have to get a ship ready for deployment. Everybody has different ideas. A diversity of ideas is not a bad thing. That's just one of the things we need to cherish in our country and in our government. Sometimes people want to do some things a certain way. Sometimes it works fast. Sometimes it's more efficient. Getting a ship ready for deployment, it's a structured way of doing things, but sometimes that port facility is a little different, and we need to make sure we do stuff a little bit differently so that we go out efficiently. And that's happened many times coming in and out of port, many times bringing supplies on the ship. I can't speak anything specifically, but it's happened so many times, and it's you learn how to just not lean back on thinking your idea is the best. There are other ideas.
Candidate Lubarski, can you give us an example of a time that you successfully worked with someone with different views from yours to accomplish a goal?
Oh yeah, as I said, I was an iron worker for 25 years, and I had to work with engineers, contractors, generals, and all that stuff, and everybody always had their own opinion how something had to be. That's why we always had a meeting in the morning. We all put our stuff on the table, and we came up with a good work plan and a resolution to fix everything.
Right, Candidate Lubarski, are you aware of any proposals from city staff, and do you have an opinion on any?
Any proposals?
From city staff. Are you aware of any proposals from city staff, and do you have an opinion on any?
I haven't had any proposal from city staff, no.
Candidate Peters, are you aware of any proposals from city staff, and do you have an opinion on any?
I think if I could think of one, it would be the community park in the core with the splash pad and the water park. I think it's a great idea. We need something that all the residents in Ramsey, and especially in that immediate area, have someplace to go to. A meeting place for everybody in Ramsey. Not just that once a year when we meet on a weekend for happy days, something else that we can do also. The city does a really great job putting on music shows at the draw, and this will only enhance our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Peters, what is your approach to conflict, and how will you handle conflict with council members, city staff, and residents?
That's another great question. Being in what we've done before in life, it's a lot of conflict that happens in the military. You learn how to, like I said, not get so prideful about what you have going on. Somebody has something they need to get off their chest. They need to talk about it. They have an idea. They want to be heard. It may not be the best idea, but there's always ideas out there that have a glimmer of hope. There's always a small bit of light in there that we can enhance as leaders and work with them. And sometimes two ideas together make a really great idea. And coming together as a team for the residents of Ramsey is always a great thing. Thank you.
Candidate Lubarski, what is your approach to conflict, and how will you handle conflict with council members, city staff, and residents? Again,
like I said, over the years of being just in the service and construction, there was always conflicts. It was always something that you sat down, you discussed. Everybody has their opinions, and everybody's going to have their opinion. And they may see something one way, you may see it another way, but then when you come together and you discuss it, and you say, well, that kind of does make sense when you come together.
All right, Candidate Lubarski, what is your opinion of doing a study of speed limits and traffic on Nowthen Boulevard and Ramsey Boulevard?
I am 100% for doing a speed study on it. As we know, we do have a lot of speeders in here. I live on a resident street, which they speed down that too. So I'm 100% for doing a speed study.
Candidate Peters, what's your opinion of doing a study of speed limits and traffic on Nowthen Boulevard and Ramsey Boulevard?
Speaking as someone who lives near Nowthen Boulevard and whose child went to school across the street on Nowthen Boulevard, where thankfully a light was put in, having the speed limit still being at 55 miles an hour with crane operators coming down from Nowthen, booking down the road, I don't want any kids walking across the road. I don't ever want to hear about that. I just hear about the stories that happened in St. Francis. I never want to have that happen here. So the best thing we can do is prevent it by advocating for slower speed limits. What things we have to understand is that when these are county roads, and if the county comes by and does a speed study, sometimes they come back with a little higher, sometimes it stays the same. We need to advocate with our county commissioners and our county staff to ensure that we're actually showing what happens and what can happen. I used to have my window open and would hear accidents on 167th and 5. It's terrifying. Thank you.
All right, Candidate Peters, what areas for improvement are there in Ramsey, and how would you work to improve them?
It's a great question. I think that sometimes some residents don't get the information. I think that sometimes when we give as much information as possible, some folks aren't on social media. A lot of folks don't have email. It's just the way it is sometimes. Some people just don't read their mail when they get the Ramsey letter. Ramsey resident, excuse me. It's incumbent upon us as neighbors, as friends, as people in our neighborhood living down the street to engage with our neighbors sometimes. And I don't think that's so much incumbent upon city staff. I know they're doing their due diligence, but we're all friends. We're all neighbors here. And whether you like us or not, you need to knock on a door and talk to your neighbors. Thank you.
Candidate Lubarski, what areas for improvement are there in Ramsey, and how would you work to improve them?
There's a few things that we need to improve on. Some of them is the road structures, because they're in dire need. In some of the neighborhoods, there's some of the neighborhoods that are ignored, and the other ones are more prioritized. So I'd be working on the roads.
Candidate Lubarski, what do you think is the most urgent challenge Ramsey currently faces? Excuse me. And what would you do to address it?
The most current challenge?
Urgent challenge.
The most urgent challenge is, I say our roads, our freeways, which they're all being worked on right now, Highway 10.
Thank you. All right, Candidate Peters, what do you think is the most urgent challenge Ramsey currently faces, and what would you do to address it?
Thank you. So the like Jeff said, Highway 10 has a lot of construction on it right now. There's a lot of businesses on Highway 10 that we would normally go to. I went to Willie's I think the other week, and it was like 4 of us in the whole place during a busy time of the day, during happy hour. That to me means that they're being driven right by, and we're going someplace else, or not even going at all. Support your local businesses. They're going to be there hopefully when the roads get done. We want to make sure they're being supported, that they're not losing staff, that they're not, because the staff is losing hours. We want to make sure we're supporting those folks. It'd be great if we could just get up there and have a meal with them once or twice a week, maybe. That'd be great. Thanks.
All right. Candidate Peters, if you had all the money and authority necessary, what one thing would you do to benefit the Ramsey community?
That'd be great. So I would love to pay for all the roads all at once, make sure they're all done all at once, fully fund it, get it done in 1 year. Let's get it done. But I think that there's a lot of other things too, like making sure that we keep our green spaces greener, that we're actually enhancing them so that everybody can enjoy them. And I think everybody can right now. There's a new park that just opened, looks awesome. I think that we can do better in our neighborhoods, and having maybe I could help fund neighborhood community centers, so we could all in our neighborhoods and communities get together and have a good time. It'd just be a lot of community action in the roads. That's what I like. Thanks.
Candidate Lubarski, if you had all the money and authority necessary, what one thing would you do to benefit the Ramsey community?
Oh, well, I'd put in more parkway for the bikes and all that stuff, more community, more roads for all the bikes that would be connected around the city, because they only go here and then they stop and then they go again. I would like to have those all connected so you can ride the whole city nonstop on a bike.
Thank you. That's the end of the questions now. So now we'll go on to the closing statements, and you'll have 1 minute for closing statements. We started with opening statements with candidate Peters, so we'll start with candidate Lubarski.
Okay, thank you. I feel I bring an average citizen perspective to the role. I have time to give to understanding each issue. I am truly interested in how the citizens view the future of the city. I believe that keeping an open mind when deciding the future of the city. The current city council does not regularly engage citizens before deciding issues. Post public hearings on websites or Facebook should be announced to people.
Thank you. Candidate Peters.
Again, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters and QCTV for the opportunity to speak directly to the residents of Ramsey so they can make an informed decision, excuse me. I spent over 20 years in the military serving not only my country, but also those who I had the honor of serving with. I continued my service by volunteering in front of the Planning Commission because I'm blessed with a heart for service. I'm here for you. I want to hear your voice. You can call me at any time. 1 o'clock in the morning is going to be a little weird, right? All right, so I'm here for you. Let's work together so that Ramsey continues to be a great place to live. My name is Eric Peters, and if you live in Ward 2, I want to earn your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. The League of Women Voters thanks the candidates for speaking to voters about issues and for running for Ramsey City Council. Thanks viewers and those who submitted questions. Links to all forms are located at the lwvabcmn.org. The general election is November 5th. Early voting starts on Friday, September 20th. Many cities offer early voting. Check the website for your city or visit the Anoka County Elections Office in the city of Anoka. You can register to vote, update your registration, find information on voting options, and find your polling place online at mnvotes.org or the Minnesota Secretary of State website. You can register or update your registration at your polling place on Election Day. The Minnesota Secretary of State's website will tell you what documents to bring. If you're interested in the League of Women Voters, visit our website at lwvabcmn.org. Women and men age 16 and older are welcome to join. Your vote is your voice. Make your voice heard by voting in the general election.